Okay, so I was having a nice day. I was minding my business, I was eating a fajita. Life was pretty sweet until, out of the corner of my eye, I noticed some movement. I take a closer look, it's a mouse. A frickin' mouse in my frickin' flat. So, I'm gonna be moving out. It's not my flat anymore, it's the mouse's flat. This is now the Mickey Mouse clubhouse, and I might burn it down. I might do a Miley Cyrus and just get naked on a wrecking ball and knock the whole thing down, because I can't do this. I'm only half joking, by the way. So, hello everyone, and welcome back to my channel. So, funny story. It's not that funny. Just got a naughty little text from the NHS making my hotline bling, and it said that I have to isolate because of this pesky virus. So, the week in my life in London vlog that I had planned will postpone to another day, and instead we're going to improvise. And basically, this morning I watched this awesome video by one of my favourite booktubers, the Book Leo, where she basically looked at her phone screen time from the previous week and then swapped it for time spent reading. And you know what? I've got a big pile of books that I want to get through. So I feel like maybe this could be quite a productive use of my isolation period, and that's what we're going to do this week. I'm going to tackle this pile of books by swapping the time I normally would have spent on my phone scrolling through the void and use that time to read some good books. So let's go. So hello, welcome to day one of isolating with my new pet mouse. We've got a lot of trust issues to get through together, so I'm sure we're gonna get very close in this time. Hopefully not too close. I've been looking at my average screen time spent on my phone per day, and usually I spend 4 hours and 32 minutes on my phone each day, which, you know, is about 32 hours spent on this thing every week. And if I could convert that into time spent reading, that will be a success. One reason... Are you kidding me? One reason I will be using my phone is to use Plum, who have very kindly sponsored today's video. If your spending habits are a little bit chaotic, as an example, here's the massive pile of books that I bought last week, then Plum is going to be your new BFF, because it's a free app that helps you put aside your money for saving. Now, I'm actually moving to another city that is not in the UK in September, and so I've started putting aside money now so that I have spending money while I'm there to spend on experiences. And Plum is helping me do that because it links to your bank account, analyzes how much you spend, and then automatically saves regular amounts for you. And so far, I've put aside £32. You can set up different pockets for different things, so whether you want to save for a holiday or a gift for someone. And also you can choose what mood you're in, so whether you want to be in shy mode and save a little bit, or beast mode where you want to save a lot. Plum also has a round up feature, so it'll round up your spending to the nearest pound and then put that spare change into a savings account. So money that you won't even notice is being secured in a safe place dedicated specifically to saving. There's also a rainy day setting, so every time it rains in your city, it will save money for you because you're probably not doing that much. And it's very cool. So you can join 1 million of us who already trust Plum by downloading the app for free down below in the description box. So thank you, Plum, for sponsoring the video and also for helping me put aside some money. Okay, so I've spent the day reading this book before the coffee gets cold, and also cancelling all of my plans that I had for this week, but I absolutely loved this. It was exquisite. This is a 5-star recommendation from me. Before the Coffee Gets Cold is a Japanese bestseller set in a coffee shop. In this coffee shop, there is a particular seat at a particular table that you can sit at that will help you travel back in time. There's a lot of caveats and technicalities about this. For example, it has to be someone who has previously visited the coffee shop. You cannot impact the future, so nothing that you do will impact the present day. You have to stay sitting in that seat the whole time, and you can only stay for as long as your coffee stays warm. So, rules aside, the book basically tells you 4 stories of 4 different scenarios of why you may want to go back to the past. So we have a woman who goes back to have one last conversation with her husband before he gets Alzheimer's disease and forgets her. We have a young girl who never got to meet her mother because her mother died in childbirth, and she goes back in time to visit her before she was born. And so I'm sure you're getting the vibe that these stories are gut-wrenching, and there's so many twists and moral dilemmas, a real mix of moments that are both heartbreaking and heartwarming, sometimes even at the same time. And the writing! Can we talk about the writing? And let me just say, things like sci-fi and fantasy are really not my cup of tea or my cup of coffee, but this book was my whole kettle because it's what's called magical realism, which is quite common in Japanese literature. Like Murakami, for example, is a big fan of this style. So it's basically quite a normal, mundane sort of scenario with an element of something that is a bit more abstract and bizarre. And I think what I really enjoyed about this book is that we have that kind of scenario and this world set up, and then we get to explore 4 different ways that that could be used. And it kind of got me thinking about this book, They Both Die at the End, which is a book about people who find out that they're going to die 24 hours before it happens. And In this book, we only explore one scenario where that would happen, and it's two teenage boys. And what I found devastating about this book is that there are so many interesting scenarios that you could use this story world that you've created to explore, which is exactly what Before the Coffee Gets Cold did. So I'm a certified fan of this book. I mean, at the beginning, it's quite slow because it's introducing a lot of different characters, but it's so worth it in the end. And these characters' lives sort of intertwine and collide, and I just loved it. So that was a success. I very much enjoyed reading that, and I will see you tomorrow. Bye-bye. So I'm trying to read when I first wake up because this is the time that I would normally sit and scroll on my phone, and also on my lunch break from work, because normally this is a time where I would be scrolling away, and instead I'm reading. Oh no! Hello everyone, I hope you're doing well. I am losing my mind. And because I am mourning the fact that I can't go out to the shop, I read a book about one today. So this is Convenience Store Woman by Sayaka Murata. It's a book about a 36-year-old woman who has been working in a convenience store for about 18 years. And so her life has become very stagnant, and everyone in her life is quite worried about her. They're always asking her how she's going to move on with her career or get married, and those are kind of two binary options. Like, you can't have both. And so this book grapples with the dual ideas of exchanging your time and your labor for money, or exchanging your identity and your autonomy for a relationship and marriage, specifically as a woman. So it's in equal parts about capitalism as it is about feminism. It's a novella because it's quite short. It's under 200 pages, and it is an allegory for women's roles in society, in Japan specifically, but also wider society, I guess, too, and the deeply entrenched expectations people have of women, both in terms of their careers and their relationships. And I could not put this down. It is haunting, it is compelling, especially because the central protagonist is crafted and depicted in such an understated way, who simultaneously recognizes the standards that she's expected to conform to, whilst also just not understanding the logic behind them at all. So I enjoyed it a lot. It's a fast-paced, quick read, and it's a book I think that I'll find myself referencing and referring to a lot. And my ultimate conclusion here is that I just love Japanese literature. I'm obsessed with the way that Japanese authors take mundane or quite ordinary experiences and put them under a microscope and really deep dive and take everything one step further. And it's exhilarating to read. So yeah, a very kind of precise, memorable, and witty book, which I enjoyed reading. So that was a good use of my time, because I basically exchanged a 3-hour TikTok binge for reading a book. And now every part of me wants to check Instagram. But you know what? I'm not gonna do that, because in the words of Dua Lipa in New Rules, rule 1, don't pick up the phone. Instead, read a book. She didn't say that bit, but like, I'm sure that's kind of what she was hinting at. Hello friends. So this whole self-isolation thing is forcing me to get a little bit creative, because here's the thing, right? So when I found out that I had to isolate, I did a big online food shop. I delivered a bunch of food to my flat so that I was covered, but I was very much thinking in the sense of like self-care. So what I ordered was mostly like sorbet, chocolate, and crisps, not actual kind of meals. So we're now kind of working with what I do have in the house, and I've realized I have the ingredients to make toad in the hole, which I've never made for myself before, even though it's literally my favorite ever dinner. If you're not aware of her work, toad in the hole is basically a dish crafted by the gods. It is sausages in a bed of Yorkshire pudding, and it's just wonderful. So I'm gonna try and cook that for myself now. Last week I got invited to this Zoom cook-along thing to celebrate the launch of Disney Pixar's Luca, and it was a really cool idea. Like, we were all gonna make our own pasta. However, slight technical difficulty. My lack of culinary prowess. I literally was still finishing step 1 when everyone else had finished. And they're showing off these beautiful pasta dishes, and I'm still there like rolling mine out. But you know what? It's a marathon, not a sprint. And we're gonna chuck these sausages into the oven. And then Yorkshire pudding batter is pretty much just eggs and flour, and then you whip. Are you kidding me? Have I just broken the whisk? I'm not gonna lie, I don't think that's what it's meant to look like. Maybe I'm missing it. Milk. It's eggs, flour, and milk. Okay, I think that this is more like what it's meant to look like. Okay, it's not the worst toad in the hole, it's not the best toad in the hole, but an attempt was made. And you know what? It's the taking part that counts. Now just imagine this with like potatoes and some veg, you know, the stuff I don't have, and a metric shit ton of gravy. Did I eat both portions of that toad in the hole in one sitting? Yes, I did. Did I also finish a book today? Yes, I bloody well did. Today I wrapped up this book by Kylie Reid. It's called Such a Fun Age, and this was such a cracking book. A certified banger. I loved it. This was a masterclass in writing. It was so great. And it's a book about privilege and discrimination and the nuances of those issues. The situations that it grapples with are so complex in the sense that there's no person who is 100% in the right and there's no person who's 100% in the wrong. There's kind of this weird middle ground where both people make mistakes. And basically, to give you a bit of an insight into the plot, it's about a black woman who is babysitting a white child. They're in a supermarket and they get stopped by the supermarket security guard, who basically accuses the babysitter of abducting the child. And that's just one of many different situations that this book depicts and then unpacks. You also have discussion of fetishization of black people, the issue of never actually being able to get inside someone's head and truly understand the intention that they had. And it's one of those books that is written so well and the descriptions are so vivid that you forget that you're sitting there with a book and a piece of paper with words on it, because you feel like you're there. I was literally visualizing every single scene and imagining how I would react in that situation and what I would understand by what was going on. Big fan of this book, could not put it down. This has been a very successful week so far. And now I'm gonna dream of more good fiction and good food. Good morning. Today I am working from home, and I work in publishing as a research assistant, so basically researching for someone else's book. So today I am in fact Dolly Parton because I'm working 9 to 5. These are my new stationery products. This is a to-do list pad and also a desk planner, and these are available at inkoutsidethebox.co.uk, baby. But big news, I got a text from the NHS this morning and I've actually tested negative for COVID. So that is cracking news. I do, however, still have to isolate, so it is what it is. And now I am gonna get back to work. Here we go, first meeting of the day. Okay, so quite a lot of time has passed, but I am still at the desk. Today I've been reading this book. It's called Diary of an Oxygen Thief, and I was very intrigued to read this because it's quite hard to come by, and I found it in a charity shop, and so I was buzzing. However, that buzzingness was misplaced because this is not good. I'm not enjoying it at all. I am 80 pages in out of 150, and I'm very close to DNFing it. And DNF stands for did not finish. And I think I might NF this because I don't want to F it. It's basically giving me Lolita energy in the sense that it's written about a kind of sexual predator, someone who preys on young women, but it's not as good as Lolita. Lolita is this disgusting, disturbing, mind-boggling book. This is just uncomfy. Someone on the back called Richard Nash describes it as F. Scott Fitzgerald for the iPad generation, and F. Scott Fitzgerald, I'm so sorry. I can't believe they would do you dirty like that. Yeah, it's basically a 150-page diatribe of this one bloke being angry at the world and kind of misogynistic, actually very misogynistic, and I'm getting a bit sick of it. I like the title though. I'm very conflicted because I'm usually against DNFing books because I'm such a firm believer that you can learn so much from books that you don't like, and you should always challenge yourself on why you're not enjoying it. Like, is it the way that characters are written? Is it the way that the story is being told and the narrator is telling it? And I think you become a better kind of literary critic that way, but well, that sounds very pretentious. But I honestly just kind of hate this, so oh, it's gone down the side of the bed now. I guess I'll have to leave it. Okay, so it's day 7. It is the final day of the challenge, and I'm gonna check what my screen time has been on average this week. Oh, it feels like results day. Okay. Oh! 52 minutes per day. That's pretty good. From 4.5 hours daily average to 52 minutes, that's pretty good going in my books. Obviously, I've still had to use my phone for things like Slack and WhatsApp for work, but credit where credit's due, I actually think I did okay there. I didn't go on Twitter for the whole week, so I spent just under 7 hours in total on my phone this week and 35 hours reading. And this was the final book that I managed to get to. I have been wanting to read this for the longest time, mostly because I think that is book cover porn. I really love it, and that is what drew me to reading this book. But the book itself was fantastic. It's about a woman who, after graduating from university, moves from Dublin to Hong Kong to start teaching English. And it's one of those books where nothing happens, like nothing happens, but you stay for the writing because it's so sharp and witty. There's these really smart kind of cultural and social commentaries on things like language, class, sexuality, the private school system, relationships. So many just great observations about the world that we inhabit. It's a very modern take on the love story, and I think if you're a fan of Sally Rooney's Conversations with Friends, you'll really enjoy this book. So articulate, so irreverent, this is a winner in my books. I loved this. So this has been a corker of a reading week. I've got through a surprising number of books just using the time that I normally would have spent on my phone. And it's really making me start to question everything. So maybe give this challenge a go for yourself, even if it's just for one day or a couple of days or even a whole week. Trust me, you'll be surprised how much time actually adds up when you're just using your phone. A massive shout out, of course, to, well, firstly, the NHS for telling me to self-isolate because They kind of made this video happen, but also to our wonderful sponsor, Plum. If you want to start saving money, don't forget to click the link down below in the description box and get started. Give the video a like if you liked it, and subscribe for more reading content from me. All the best, stay in touch, have a lovely day, bye-bye!